This week in sports, the 2020 Super Wildcard Weekend is in the books. In the AFC, Lamar Jackson secured his first playoff victory, beating the Titans 20-13. Lamar carried the ball 16 times, averaging 8.5 yards a carry, and threw for 179 yards. The Ravens' defense held Derrick Henry to just 40 yards. Unfortunately, Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill, despite throwing for 165 yards and a touchdown, threw a late pick to lock up the victory for the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore travels to Buffalo to face the Bills this week. Despite Philip Rivers throwing for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, the Bills hung on to win a thriller of a game against the Colts, beating the Colts 27-24. This was in part due to Colts kicker Blankenship missing a field goal. Even in the postseason, when everything gets harder, Josh Allen's stat line was still impressive. Allen threw for 324 yards and 2 scores. The fraudulent Steelers are out of the playoffs. The Cleveland Browns, despite missing a slew of staff both on and off the field, including their head coach, and not being able to practice for the past 2 weeks, came ready to play. Between all-around good play by the Browns and a number of mistakes made by the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Browns smoked the Steelers 48-37. These mistakes included a bad snap to open the game and the Browns forcing 4 picks out of Big Ben. The Browns scored 28 points in the first quarter alone. Baker Mayfield and the red-hot Browns traveled to Kansas City to face the formidable Chiefs this week. In the NFC, the Saints bested the Bears 21-9. The most notable thing about the game was the fact that it was aired on Nickelodeon. But seriously, the Saints cleaned up the tomato can Bears. Drew Brees was his vintage self, throwing for 265 yards and 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara had another 100-yard outing and a touchdown, and the sneaky good Saints defense held Mitch Trubisky in check. The Buccaneers beat an Alex Smith-less Washington football team. Washington was forced to start Taylor Heineke. He wasn't horrible in that he threw for 306 yards and a touchdown and only gave up a pick. However, his performance wasn't enough to outdo Tom Brady in the lethal Buccaneers offense. Brady collected 381 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. Tampa Bay moves on to face the New Orleans Saints in what could be a dandy of a game between 2 of the best to ever put pads on in the NFL. Finally, the Rams beat the Seahawks 30-20. This was especially impressive when you consider that Jared Goff didn't start in the game due to a broken thumb on his throwing hand. However, when John Wolford, whoever that is, had to get sent to the hospital after a gruesome hit, Goff stepped in and played through the injury. The Rams move on to face the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field this week. Elsewhere in sports, Bill Belichick declined to accept the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest award possible for a U.S. citizen. In a statement, Belichick said, "Recently, I was offered the opportunity to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which I was flattered by out of respect for what the honor represents and admiration for past recipients. Subsequently, the tragic events of last week occurred and the decision was made not to move forward with the award. One of the most rewarding things in my professional career took place in 2020 when, through the great leadership within our team, conversations about social justice, equality, and human rights moved to the forefront and became actions. Continuing those efforts while remaining true to the people, team, and country I love outweigh the benefits of any individual award." News broke that Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans are at odds. Watson is reportedly upset over the way the team has been managed both on and off the field. Currently, rumors are swirling of a possible trade that would send Tua and other considerations from Miami to Houston for Deshaun Watson. The Boston Bruins announced that they would be retiring Willie O'Ree's number. O'Ree was the first African-American hockey player in the NHL. And in the NBA, a blockbuster deal went down. 4 teams traded players and draft picks that ultimately ends up sending James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets, thus putting Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden in the same uniform. However, Kyrie Irving continues to be missing in action, and the league is investigating if he broke COVID-19 protocol at a party for his sister in which he was spotted dancing without a mask. This is the Under.500 podcast.
All right, everybody. Welcome back into the Under 500 podcast. My name is Tyler. I am joined by my other two hosts, friends, colleagues, whatever you want to call them. Eric, what's up, man? How you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty geeked up for this episode. I'm not going to lie.
I am too. This has been a really good week for sports. A very good week for sports. Aaron, what is up, my dude?
I'm having a great day and a great week, and man, I'm glad NBA news pretty much broke and set the league on fire. That's going to be a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. And the Super Wild Card weekend. There's a game on Nickelodeon.
Oh, this was a
Man,
perfect week for sports.
We got so much stuff to get into.
And
what's that? And is what?
And it's cold outside. No one wants to be outside, so it's a good excuse to sit in front of the TV and just watch other people hit each other.
This weekend was so good for just football. Just 6 great games. I didn't do anything except Sunday. The only thing I did outside of football was church, and that was it.
There you go.
I just watched games the entire week. It was good. And today is our 10th episode, guys. Episode 10. We're in double digits now.
10.
Dang.
Did you guys think we would do this?
I did. Considering how my first podcast I ever had went, no, I did not think we'd get this far.
How many episodes did you guys get?
3.
Oh man, oh wow, I thought it was more.
No. I remember you came downstairs and watched one though.
Yeah, I was there for one of the recordings.
Yeah, you didn't miss much.
Oh, well, I mean, Nate, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
It was a great concept, and might I add, it was my idea to do that podcast, but we'd never had enough time to really commit ourselves to making it really good.
Yeah.
Well, either way, we've done 10 straight, and I'm very proud of us. So pat yourself on the back.
We haven't missed a single week, and this is why I love the sports world, because there's usually always something going on. Except for like we talked about in the first episode we did trivia. There's 2 days where there's no sports at all.
That's right. Okay. I learned that. That was something that you taught me, Tyler.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I could teach you.
That.
Impressive. That was an impressive fact. Tyler, you want to start today before we get, because there's so much to talk about the NFL and the NBA, but we got some fan feedback about the MLB. So why don't we start here?
Go ahead.
Shake things up here.
Yeah, we got to shake things up a little bit. So a good friend of mine, my first boss actually, a guy by the name of Mike Doobie, great guy.
Great name.
I like his name a lot.
No, he's
smoking boobies.
Oh boy,
I'm sure he's heard that his whole life.
Yeah, just to say he's joking with me about how he's heard that his whole life. But anyways, a big sports guy, and he wrote in actually about the Red Sox. He said, "Here is an interesting topic for you guys: Red Sox payroll." So Rusney Castillo has a new team. Castillo, is it? Yeah, it's Castillo, right? Castillo. Yeah, there's L's, but they're not L's. Anyways,
I'm done. Aren't you like Latino, like a little bit, like?
Yeah, but I am, but it's like, I wasn't raised in that culture by any means. So, anyways,
Western Mass.
Yeah, northern Western Mass, I might add. So Castillo signed with I don't even know how to say those names.
The Tohoku Rakuten Golden Eagles of
Golden
Nippon.
Eagles. Okay, well, are we all gonna say it together, or does someone want to pronounce these for me? So it's a professional baseball team in Japan. Let's go with that. And the Red Sox will no longer have to pay him the $13.5 million to play in Pawtucket. Currently, the Red Sox payroll stands at $143.5 million for 2021, with the luxury tax threshold to be approximately $210 million. Here's some interesting Red Sox payroll information. Manny Ramirez is still on the books in 2021.
Wait, what?
For $2.5 million? Because
why?
MLB contracts, man.
They last forever.
They keep paying even after they're out?
Yeah, if they're under contract.
Have you heard? I forget the guy's name. He gets paid by the Mets like $6.8 million
that's right.
every year. Yeah. They dubbed it I forget his name day.
Yeah. Man. I see that I was thinking about that today.
Continue. Sorry. That blows my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. The worst player in Red Sox history, Pablo Sandoval, is finally off the books now. That might be a bit of an exaggeration.
Not the worst player in Red Sox history.
But he was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad players in Red Sox uniform, if David Price, sorry, Tyler, opts out of this season as well, which seems like a good possibility, the Red Sox will save an additional $16 million. Also, if Dustin Pedroia retires, the Sox could potentially save up to another $10 million, depending on the deferment agreement. Theoretically, the Sox payroll could be as low as $117 million. Many fans and experts say the most important thing for the Red Sox this offseason is to sign or trade for a starting pitcher. They are dead wrong, Mr. Doobie says. The most important thing the Sox should do is lock up Rafael Devers to a long-term contract. The Sox are a big market team with a big market payroll, and Devers will currently only make $4.85 million in 2021 and could become an unrestricted free agent after the 2023 season, in which he would be the same age as Mookie Betts when he left the Red Sox last season. Remember, in 2019, Devers hit 32 home runs, 115 RBIs with a 311 batting average. Pretty good. New Red Sox president, I can't say this guy, Mr. Bloom,
Cayenne
would
Bloom.
be, is it Cayenne? Anyways, it's Chaim. It's Chaim. That's okay. Would be smart. I'm sorry. I'm really bad at. I can't say I hate, but I can't pronounce names. Like fundamentally can't. And then like,
can we get that clip? It's James. It's James.
Anyways, that guy, that nerd from Yale that is currently the Red Sox president, would be smart to lock up Devers now. And since he has a lot of room in the payroll, now he could front load the contract and save money for the future when the Sox have developed more of their prospects and have a more realistic chance of winning the World Series. So essentially, lock up Devers rather than get a pitcher,
starting pitcher, yeah.
But you lock him up in the sense that you front load his contract so that in a couple of years you could develop pitchers or get pitchers and do that whole thing. What's your first response, Tyler? What do you think?
Rafael Devers does not deserve a $117 million contract.
Okay, so if you lock him up, but you lock him up not at Mookie Betts' money, because that wasn't what was said.
It's not what was said, but I feel like that was almost implied.
Okay. So, but would you want to lock him up long term for a decent payroll?
It depends on how he performs. I mean, we've had.
What do you think he's worth, Tyler? What do you think would be a good number?
I don't know. What's the average third baseman making? Hold on. Keep talking.
I will say, while you're looking that up, the Red Sox have been kind of in the rumor mill. I think Andrew Benintendi is on the chopping block.
Good.
They are looking to make some room in the outfield, and he's the lowest guy in the totem pole, I guess. I'm kind of sad about that. I liked Benintendi.
He's been there for a little while now, hasn't he?
Yeah,
for 4 seasons.
For a while. Yeah, he's still a young guy, right?
Yeah.
Because I know when he first came in, he was really young. So
if we're talking about starting third baseman in the MLB, the average is $6.657 million per year. Let's see. So 6, 12, 18. How many years into it? We're 2021. So 2 more, 12. Lock him up for, I don't know, a 5-year contract after 20. See if he'll accept a 5-year contract after the 2022 season or after the 2023 season for like, I don't know, $30 million over for 5 years.
That might be fair to say when you look at him versus other third basemen, Tyler.
Right, because he's
other third basemen hit for 310 or 311 batting average and 115 RBIs batted in.
I mean, are we completely taking away the 2020 season? Because that kid has not been consistent.
I think you kind of need to take away 2020.
All right, we'll take it away. Weird. We'll take it away. Still not very consistent. And I'm not saying he's bad. He's a great baseball player. He's a good batter. He's only 20, 21, and he has a record in the baseball for the fastest home run or hitting a home run off the fastest pitch or whatever. He hit a home run to dead center off of Aroldis Chapman. It was 103 mile an hour fastball. Nobody's ever done that.
I do remember hearing about that.
I mean, that was insane. He's got a good eye for the ball. He's got power. My goodness, does he have power?
So he's only 21 years old?
He's only 20 or 21, I believe. Let me look it up really quick.
That doesn't make you want to lock him up maybe on a bigger deal? Because, I mean, if he's 20 or 21 already doing that, like in 3 years, what could he be?
But a lot of the young guys in the MLB are putting out not the same by any means. He's 24 now.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I
just remember him
think,
being 19. My goodness. And
I
so
think we lock him up. I'm okay with that.
not for
but I
not
do
for
think
Mookie Betts money. No.
no, not for Mookie Betts money, but I'm
I
okay
agree
with
with that.
I'm okay with paying him a little bit more than an average third baseman because of his potential and
Sure.
because he's already proven it. Especially if you front load him and then you use the back end of the contract to make another run at it. But I do think we need some pitchers because the pitching staff of the Red Sox smells.
So
It's horrible.
going after a big money, guaranteed good starting pitcher, he says they're dead wrong. I think he's I think he's right. Spending all your money on a starting rotation isn't going to fix what the team needs. Team needs a good bullpen, and the team needs better bats.
Definitely a bullpen.
Starting pitching can, like he says, bring up people and develop the prospects. I think we can get starting pitching from developing prospects. So I think he's right there.
Definitely bullpen, bro. The Red Sox bullpen is horrible.
I mean, how did we get rid of Drew Pomeranz? I just don't understand how they didn't lock him up.
I forgot about him.
He's one of the better relievers in the game now, and he's on the Padres. So the Red Sox front office has just been dropping the ball lately. I mean, you let Mookie Betts go. That was stupid.
Was that they weren't willing to pay him? Is that what it was?
He wanted out of.
He just. I don't think he didn't really.
Something there.
Yeah, he didn't really want to play for.
I didn't know if
Red
it was
Sox.
just like a money thing or if it was like he was just like, I just don't want to be here anymore.
Well, I think he saw what the front office was doing, because this stuff started creeping in before they talked about trading him.
And what the Dodgers
he already had a ring. I don't know. The Dodgers. He's on a huge contract with the Dodgers.
I remember hearing like it was some big number they signed him to. So I
It's
I
big.
was like, go, bro! Like, good for you.
Oh my goodness, he signed a 12-year, $365 million contract with a $65 million signing bonus.
Dude,
it's $365 and it's guaranteed.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Aaron, if he breaks his leg, although there might be stuff for that in the contract, who knows? But like if he retires or whatever, or he's out of the league in 3 years, all that money is still guaranteed.
It's a guaranteed contract.
And they will still pay him.
Yep.
That's crazy. Yeah, I would have taken that deal too.
I mean, but does Mookie Betts deserve that? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For what I know about him, he's like a MVP candidate, like tier player.
Oh, so. He's amazing.
So it makes sense.
Oh, he's so good. So
right then.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Eric.
No, I was just saying.
Do you know who has the highest contract in baseball?
In the MLB? Hold on.
Yeah. Is it Trout?
I thought it was Mookie at this point.
I think it might be Mookie. I think he signed the biggest one ever. No.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So he has the largest. Wow, good for him. All right, sorry, I'll shut up for the baseball.
Before him, it was Bryce.
No, I was just saying.
Actually, if you want to get down to it, Bryce Harper technically has the larger one because he signed on for 13 years. No, wait, that's less. Yeah. 13. So Bryce Harper is right below him at 13 years for 330. Mookie's 12 years for 335.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him for being that good and for being smart and being like, all right, I'm taking that.
$65 million just to sign your name.
You know how many rings he's guaranteed being on the Dodgers?
Yeah, he got one.
He's got one this past year.
Yeah.
He's going to get one probably this next year and the year after that.
Holy crap. Good for that. Good for him.
They're unstoppable.
So
all in all,
the Dodgers, but
Mike Doobie, I appreciate what you said, but I don't think that we should lock up Devers for too much money. Spend the other money that you have left over wisely, but don't lock him up on this ridiculous contract and have him crap out in two or three seasons. That's my take from that.
All right. I don't know much about them, so yeah.
You want to talk NFL now? Can we?
Let's go,
dude. We gotta get into it.
Can we make a quick correction though about?
Yeah, we have to.
we have to talk about this.
That.
So I'm pretty sure I knew this, and I don't know why I didn't speak up. Going back and listen to it, I don't think I said anything. But the highest seed always faces the lowest seed. So the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed would not face each other until the championship round of the playoffs. So Bills and Chiefs would never face each other in a divisional round, but they would face each other, obviously.
Yeah, if they both win this week, then they
Yes.
then they face each other in the championship.
I listened to it again. I listened to last week's episode, and I like cringed a little bit. And I'm like, that's so wrong. Why did I say that? Because we talked about it right after.
Yeah, for the listeners, we had a discussion, a powwow after, where we found out that it was completely wrong. And we're like, well, we're airing it anyways.
So I'm correct. So we're correcting our correction.
And on I think Thursday or Friday morning, our boy Mike Ivy texted me. It was like, you screwed up. I was like, yeah, I know. We talked about it.
Yeah, we had a discussion. I also had a mistake too myself, because in Jim's statement he said that the Browns, if they finished 10-6, would miss the playoffs potentially, and I was like, well, they finished 10-6 and made it anyway. They were 11-5, so
True.
I was also wrong. So that is my correction.
Hey, we acknowledge our mistakes, and I hope that earns respect from our listeners.
Agreed.
On another note, what did you guys think of the game on Nick? Did either one of you watch the game on Nickelodeon?
I didn't watch it live, but you guys, I think someone mentioned that it was on YouTube. You could watch like the quick highlights and stuff. So I checked it out there, and Barstool had a lot of posts from it.
Yeah.
It was
I didn't watch it live either, but the next day I had no idea that it was even happening. And then I saw that Sean Payton got slimed, and I was like, "What? Wait a second." And I started looking it up, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool."
So I got to watch it live. One of the advantages of working for an ISP is that I get pretty much every channel known to man. So I saw that Barstool had posted that it was on Nickelodeon. I think I even flipped by and was like, "Are they premiering it on Nickelodeon to watch?" I don't know what this means. I kept going, and then I saw what they were doing. I went, "Oh, I gotta go watch this." I just want to say I'm not a hater of the commentators that like most people are. I'm not a huge fan of Chris Collinsworth, but I don't hate the guy. He doesn't totally bother me. And I like Al Michaels and obviously Tony Romo. And is it Jim Nance? It's Jim Nance.
Jim
I
Nance,
really like.
yep.
Everybody else is forgettable.
Can we all just universally agree that Joe Buck is just the worst?
Oh my gosh!
He's
he
so
got stuffed into lockers his entire high school
Joe
career.
Buck is and Troy Aikman. I can't stand Troy Aikman either.
I hate that broadcast. Anyways, sorry.
But on that note, I thought that the Nickelodeon broadcast and like how they described things and how like they explained things was just as good of a product as the kind of the extra stuff they did on the field with like the slime and the the first down being orange or green. But I will say one of the guys did something incredibly is it misogynist? It was really uncomfortable actually to hear because he said he said, "Laura, and there's laundry on the field, and no, that doesn't mean that you need to go do the laundry." Or she said something like that.
Oh my goodness!
I was like, "What? You can't say that."
2021, man.
And she hit it in stride and was just like, "Yeah, no, laundry on the field is just a phrase we use to talk about flags on the field." And I'm thinking, wait, did anybody just? Did you just catch that?
Like, yo, what the
that's
heck?
pretty bad.
He's fired. Well, did you hear they picked up on the mic like NFL player just dropping the F-bomb like completely out. They went silent on the screen. He's like, "Yo, what the?"
Yeah. I mean,
and the commentators are like, "All right, well."
It must be tough in an empty stadium to, because when the crowds, before the season, you can't really hear much on the field, but
yeah,
I think that's funny. But I'll tell you what, if Nickelodeon does another broadcast of a game, I'm gonna watch it.
Oh heck yeah!
I'm gonna go straight to Nickelodeon and I'm gonna watch it. There's no doubt about it. It's happening.
I liked it.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. I mean, one of the things the NBA has done very well in the past couple of years is appealing to kids and the younger generation, even just with like the new jerseys that they pump out, new ads and stuff. So I think it's cool the NFL is trying to do that, trying to get kids into it. Because I mean, if you think about it, if you're a 10-year-old kid and you're watching a regular NFL game live and you're not already into football, it's kind of like dull. You don't know what's going on. So I think it's cool that they did this to make it kid friendly, to explain it to kids. But let's be honest, like probably more adults are watching it because it brought them back to their childhood. Seeing SpongeBob and stuff up there, like it's just different. It's fun. I thought like you said, Eric, the commentators did a great job of explaining it a way that anyone could understand the game, which football is probably the most complex of the big professional sports that's
Sure.
played.
Yeah.
As far as the rules, and so a lot of people probably don't know it, especially kids, and there's even adults who don't, but they could watch that and learn the game, and the more people that can learn it, they're more apt to become a fan. So I think it's a smart move on the NFL's part. I think they should keep doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
completely
agree.
It's great.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just fun. Like
It's
slime
fun
in the
to
end
watch.
zone.
Like,
Why
and
not?
football's already entertaining, and then they ended up, putting overlays of kicking into
Yeah.
SpongeBob, and I'm
There's
like,
some
I'm
people who
all for this right now.
some people try to hate like see the NFL is circling the drain. They're doing anything to get viewers. It's like no, they're not. Like the NFL is a business. They're gonna do what they can to reach new audience. Like that's any other business is gonna try new things to reach. Like that
Yeah, they're
doesn't mean you're circling the drain. It just means they're being intelligent.
right. They're circling the drain in $16 billion.
Such a great point.
Yeah, it's the
Such
same
a
people.
great
Like,
point.
Come
"Oh,
on.
NFL is too political. It's like, oh my gosh, like just it's doing fine. Calm down.
Yeah.
We play to win the game. That's why I'm watching. Speaking of which, what do we think of the wild card? So, how did our predictions stack up? And
Dude,
versus,
I only got one wrong.
you did
I
only
think
get
I
one
think I'm
wrong.
with
Only
you
one
on
wrong.
that.
Yeah, it was the the Titans game. I picked wrong.
I picked the Ravens on this Titan. Maybe I didn't. I don't honestly. I don't remember. But I think I might have picked the Ravens because I knew they were hot. But I didn't pick the. It was an NFC game.
Did you pick the Seahawks?
I picked the Seahawks. I
I
picked
know
the
you
Seahawks
did,
and the
yeah.
Steelers. Yeah, I got two wrong. My heart was in the Seahawks and my brain was in the Steelers, and boy, were they both wrong.
No, I picked the Rams. I know that. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the Titans Ravens.
Can I
I'm
just
pretty
talk
sure you
about
picked Titans.
the Ravens Titans game? I talked about in the This Week in Sports the late pick, and I went back and watched it just to make sure that it was a late pick because I remember watching that game, but it kind of gets, those YouTube highlights are really good to go back and watch and just to make sure I got things right, which I've also gotten wrong before, so whatever. But the late pick that Ryan Tannehill threw, it was there was someone open down the seam, and he looked at him, and then he looked back at the receiver he ultimately decided to throw to and threw it like it was bang bang real quick. And as much as I want to put that pick on Ryan Tannehill because of the decision making to not throw to the wide open guy, the receiver was on the ground when that ball got chucked and got intercepted. Whoever he was throwing to, and I don't remember exactly who it was, but he was laying on the ground. Like, and I don't know if you guys watched that part of the game. Did you watch that part? Like,
Yeah, 'cause
why
that
was
was
the receiver on the ground?
that
Why
was
was that
the
not a
one
penalty?
Peters. That was the one Peters intercepted, which is interesting too because Marcus Peters has a very big history of pass interferences and being very very physical. So that kind of makes it a little even sketchier.
Yeah.
I do know this year the NFL has made more of an effort to not call as many. That was one of the things that they were in the offseason they were really pushing. And
Which
so
I'm for, by the way.
right,
Less
like, I think
penalties
that's
are
good.
better
Yeah, 'cause
games.
I think in the past couple of years it's been a little ridiculous how many were thrown. So I think that makes the refs a little more hesitant too. But that's like if you see a receiver on the ground, it's like ah.
to me, it looks like he was late on the throw, or he was early on. Tannehill threw it early. He wasn't quite there yet, and he must have missed footing. And he was trying to get knock the ball down. Basically, the receiver is trying to knock the ball down.
I mean, it could very well be that
because it looks like he's swatting
angle,
at it.
Yeah.
When he's getting up, basically, I think he missed footing. Knew he wasn't going to get there. Tried to swat it. Fell down. But
yeah.
it's quick.
It was. I mean, the camera angle that I saw, and I don't have any access to all the really cool camera angles, so. But it was just like you threw the ball, and then you saw the receiver on the ground, and at the very least, my head went, "Huh." Well, there's a no call penalty. Is there a no call penalty here, or is it just like he tripped, like you said, and he was just trying to go for the ball at that point to stop the pick? Whatever it was. It just when you see a receiver on the ground and then there's a pick, I don't know. My head always goes, "Huh? What do I happen there?"
Well, there were some games this weekend where there were some passes that were thrown, and you see some of the defensive coverage, and I was like, he was like on the dude's back, and
Mm-hmm.
flags weren't thrown, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, all right, wow, they're really not calling these right now. Like, 'cause they seem to be pretty blatant, but and then there's times where like defensive holding is called and it's like barely a tug. So
Right.
I don't know. It frustrates me sometimes.
But I see that you
How
have
it's not consistent.
I see that you have here that Tannehill missed a receiver running up the opposite sideline wide open, and he totally did.
Yeah,
It was bad.
Yeah,
bad.
so
Like, he
ultimately,
was
I mean, it lies
wide
on
open.
him.
Yeah, I think that I think we've talked about this here, and I've heard, I've talked about it in other places, but not every pick. Big Ben threw 4 picks. I don't know if every last one of those 4 picks, although Big Ben's known for throwing picks like that, like he gets in these games, these 3 or 4 pick games. But I don't know if every one of those was necessarily like he threw a pick, but
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Tannehill's decision making there caused that pick.
It was
for
right.
sure.
No,
Like he could have
100%.
avoided it.
I agree. For the Colts Bills game, it was a great game.
Yeah. No, it
if you
was
watched the
really
whole
good.
thing, but it was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. Did you guys surprised at that? That the Colts played them
Oh,
well.
I was very
Surprised that
surprised.
Philip Rivers lost the game? No.
Well, that's not what I was getting at. But
Oh no, that's what I'm getting at, because it became this whole conversation that we had. Because you know what? And going back and
Oh
looking
my
at it,
gosh.
Aaron, and I'm sorry, I'm still a little butthurt about this.
He played a
So
good game.
yeah, his stat line looks really good. You're right, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. The usual Philip Rivers thing. If the Patriots are looking for a quarterback next year, as a fan, I am
Oh my gosh, I
OUT
don't get it. I don't get it.
out on Philip
I don't
Rivers.
understand.
Out on him. Out.
It's really
Not
funny because we
interested.
were having this conversation, and then we had a social media post out about, Philip Rivers is blank, and the one response that I really I thought was the best was actually your sister, I think, Rachel.
Yep.
She said he is the definition of you try your best but you don't succeed. And I not that I fully agree with that I mean, he hasn't been the most successful quarterback, but he tries his best and he puts up pretty good numbers.
Yeah, but can you put all of that on? I don't know. That's the thing, is I don't know if you can put that all on him.
So I have calmed down a little bit since when we first had this conversation. And I did text you, Aaron, and eventually said, probably is a Hall of Fame quarterback. I texted a couple other of my friends and they said borderline Hall of Fame. But I will give you, okay, fine, he's going to make the Hall of Fame. As a quarterback, he doesn't have any personal achievements that are like at the highest level. He has a lot of achievements. I'm not taking away his achievement, but he doesn't have an MVP. And then the teams he's been on haven't gotten out of the AFC. So, great. He really feels like a quarterback to me that if you pick him up, you want your team to be better in the interim before you go find something better than Philip Rivers. So you know what? Okay. Patriots need something better than Cam Newton. They pick up Philip Rivers, and you're right. He might be able to chuck the ball 300 yards, and we're all going to go, oh my gosh, someone that actually can throw the ball. This is refreshing.
Throw touchdowns. That'd be
and I get the sentiment there, but just as a thing, I don't like his game. I don't like that he really hasn't won anything big, and yet he's all about the smack talk. And I think he's like the pocket passer's kind of the thing that's on the way out, and he's the epitome of that. He doesn't run. Like even Tom Brady has changed his game, so he steps up in the pocket and tucks and run if he has to.
Ooh,
but
baby,
Philip Rivers doesn't, and it looks really awful when Tom Brady does it. So don't.
No, you can't run. Like, I think it's physically impossible for Tom to run.
I totally agree. But Philip Rivers just doesn't do that. And then he's got that weird sidearm thing. And I don't know. I don't like his game.
It's really funky.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. I would take him on the Pats. But granted, we just had Cam Newton, so that does make it.
We can only go up from here, boys. We can only go up from here.
I would take you or Tyler starting at quarterback.
I have an arm. Tyler has an arm too.
Dude. I remember this one floater I sent you at BBC. I sent you this one floater over the shoulder, perfect, dude. I'll remember that to the day I die. But anyways, here's back to this Philip Rivers thing. Let me ask you this question, and I want you to both answer honestly. We think that we've said Hall of Famer, borderline Hall of Famer, and this is something that I gauge somebody's talent on. Would you be surprised or upset if he doesn't end up in the Hall of Fame?
I would.
You'd be surprised?
Yeah, because like I told Eric this, but Dan Fouts, who again is another former Chargers quarterback, never won a Super Bowl, any of that, but put up big numbers, had a long career, made it into the Hall of Fame, and Rivers has better numbers than him.
Okay.
So I would be shocked if Fouts got in, but Rivers didn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I would be indifferent because 3 years after Philip Rivers retires, we're gonna go, oh yeah, that guy did play in the league, didn't he? Because he's just, I'm sorry, and I don't mean that as something like as a complete dig against Philip Rivers, but his contemporaries were Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Brett Favre, which I know we'll have a whole conversation about that later.
Through the short straw as far as like the
Big
quarterbacks.
Ben, Tom
Absolutely.
Brady.
Yeah.
You know, all these prolific stars were in the
He
league,
was
and
the
then you have
Patrick Ewing of the Michael Jordan era. Like,
Sure. Yeah. That's a good. That's wow. There you go.
it's like no one else is winning in the '90s. Sorry, guys. Barkley, sit down.
Speaking of Tom Brady, were we surprised by the Washington Bucks
Thank
game?
you for bringing that up. No, I mean, so their defense was a little underwhelming because that Heineke kid came in and he actually played a pretty good game for only his second start ever
Oh,
in
yeah.
the league, and he's got wheels. That kid, that touchdown run he had where
Yeah,
he
it
fully
was-
he jumped
yeah.
from like the 4-yard line, and I saw that and I was like, what? Is a white dude like running and jumping like that? I was like, you got to be
Love it.
kidding me right now. But so the fact that their defense gave up 23 points to them was a little concerning. But man, that offense though,
Oh yeah.
they put up over 500 yards on one of the best defenses in the league. Like that's scary for the
That's
rest
terrifying.
of the NFC.
I'm so excited to see Saints Bucks. Did you see that post Tom Brady put out?
Yeah,
Of, like,
the
him as
old
an
guy
man and
filters. Oh,
yeah, it was great.
That
It was,
was-
with the History Channel logo in the middle, like
Yeah.
it was brilliant.
gotta love it.
Clearly, someone who works for Tom Brady put that out, and Tom Brady said, "Yeah, that'll work." But anyways, I'm excited for that. Like that could be a really, really good. That's the type of like divisional or championship game I want to see.
Yeah.
Yep, two very good quality teams going at it. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's going to be a very entertaining game. Just because, personally, I love watching Tom Brady throw the ball, so that's already entertainment for me.
Oh,
and then you have
so
this,
good.
you have this weird dynamic in the Saints offense of Taysom Hill doing his thing in the red zone,
Kamara
and Alvin Kamara and Drew Brees being just an absolute stud throwing the ball. I said last week that the Titans-Ravens game was going to be the best one to watch, which actually wasn't. So, but I think this is going to be the one. This is going to be the good game to watch.
Yeah,
this
I'm excited for that matchup.
Well, yeah, and also the Browns versus the Chiefs.
Oh.
Come on, baby. Give me that game. Let's go.
I sent you
can't
guys
wait for
this,
that.
but if this is actually a rematch between
It is.
Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah.
and the last game they played in was in college, and I think was it Baker Mayfield that had the 500 yards and Patrick Mahomes had 800 yards, or was it vice versa?
So Mayfield had 500 something yards and 7 passing touchdowns, and then Mahomes had, was it 734 passing yards, but like total with rushing over 800 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Oh my
in one
goodness.
game. Like it was just they were literally just trading touchdowns. It was just boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
I'll tell you what, the Chiefs D line and linebackers are in for a treat with this Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt tandem, because they're bad at running backs. They are bad with running backs, real bad.
Can you imagine if the Browns took down Kansas City and it was Browns Bills in a AFC championship game?
Pandemonium in the streets. I'm telling you, that would be
where you
insane.
live,
People be burning cars out here.
Meanwhile, the Bills up here, all my Bills fans that are up here, which, you know what, I have to give Bills fans credit because they've been, Bills Mafia is a thing. I have to give all the New York team fans credit, but I will give Bills fans credit because they all, like, I was at church and they were all coming out of the woodwork. Boy, if they had to face the Browns versus the Kansas City Chiefs, they'd be punching their ticket to the Super Bowl. I guarantee it.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a good game.
That was the Browns. I'm excited to see that game next week.
What do you think of the Browns Steelers game this week, just in general?
Dude, that first quarter was, I didn't know what was happening. Like that first snap when it like went over the head and
The
scored a
first
touchdown,
snap
I
of
was
the
like,
game. Come
oh,
on.
So
this not their day. Steelers are losing.
Yeah.
Like it was just right there.
Yep.
is that a story about how good the Browns are or how fraudulent the Steelers were?
A little bit of
And if
both.
you okay, so if you had to pick, which way would you lean?
Bad on the Steelers. That's my pick. Is
I
how
like
bad the
Browns
Steelers were.
a team, but I think that was more on the Steelers.
Yeah.
I think they got shell shocked and they weren't able to recover.
Yeah,
Like,
so
the first 2 touchdowns, they lost it. They just
so
couldn't
that
do
goes back
anything.
that goes back to my thing last week where I was getting eviscerated because I think Mike Tomlin needs to be gone. If you're the head coach of that team and you get down 28 points in the first quarter, I get it. If you can't get the team back, like at that point, it's out of hand. But at what point do you, as you're getting there, like you get 14-0 down on some freak things in the first quarter? At what point do you pull your team together and say, "Hey, we're better than these guys. We've always been better than these guys. Let's go." You know what I'm saying? Like, I
don't know. Like,
I can't put everything on Mike Tomlin, and I'm not going to, because how could you put on him that the Pro Bowler snapper on the first snap
right.
totally
Right.
screws up? Like I can't put that on. There's no way.
Yeah.
But it took too long for that team to get engaged and going and try him out to come back, and at that point it was too late.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think if Big Ben's going to retire soon, I think the Steelers would be smart to say, new coach, new quarterback. Let's see what we got again, and do that flip. That's what I think.
Maybe they need a new coach. I personally really like Mike Tomlin. I like what he's represented in the league for a while. His play calling and his coaching style is it's a little bit weird. I'll give you that. But I think once Big Ben's done, I think Mike Tomlin's done with the Steelers as well. I don't know when that is, because Mike Tomlin's not an old guy.
No, he's still relative. Yeah, he's in his 40s. He's still young.
I don't think he should stop coaching. I think the league would benefit from someone like Mike Tomlin in the league.
Right.
I just think that sometimes it's time for that change.
I could agree with that.
He's not a Bill Belichick. The Steelers were never a dynasty. They haven't had massive success over the past however long Big Ben's been in the league. So moving on from Mike Tomlin isn't a bad move by the Steelers.
Well, the biggest knock on Tomlin is Cowher won that first Super Bowl in the 2000s, and then Tomlin came on and inherited essentially Bill Cowher's team.
Yeah,
and then he won a Super Bowl with them.
So I'm not going to totally knock. I can't totally knock Tomlin with that though, because neither one of them drafted a lot of those players. They had input, but that again, as I've said, is the team is constructed by the team.
Yeah.
So it's not like the Bill Parcells to Pete Carroll thing, where Bill Parcells built that whole team and then left, and then Pete Carroll just coached them up and brought them to a Super Bowl. Because Bill Parcells legitimately drafted a lot of those players or developed a lot of them, that sort of thing. But I don't know if I can do the same thing with the Steelers, who have a whole different dynamic with how they developed talent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, with me, Tomlin, I don't think he's a bad coach. I don't think he's top tier. I think he's like a good run of the mill coach, but
that's fair.
Like you guys said, it's like even those kind of coaches, there's a change that just needs to happen, just to freshen things up, get a new style in. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did it, if they ended up making that call. So especially if Ben leaves. If Ben leaves, I think you do, because that's the signal of an end of an era.
Yeah, I agree. What did you guys think of the Rams Seahawks game?
Called it.
Yeah,
you did call it. You did call
exactly
it. You're
what
right.
I said happened would happen.
Yeah.
I was like, this is going to be a game where the offense is going to sputter. Wilson's not going to be able to get anything done, and he finished with less than 50% completion. Like, their offense just was horrible. Granted, the Rams defense is phenomenal, probably the best in the league. But that's what happened. I was shocked though that the Rams were able to put up 30 points. They did get a defensive touchdown, but especially considering Goff played most of the game with a broken thumb, and they were still able to put points on the board, that surprised me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the Seahawks, the way their offense looked this year, going up and down, I'm like, it's going to be down.
Well, they haven't been good. They haven't been good since week 8. So
yeah, which I don't get. Like, they got to figure some crap out for the offseason. They got to get Russell Wilson an offensive line, because Aaron Donald, the defensive line, were just destroying them.
It was
every
bad.
play,
It was
Wilson was
embarrassing bad.
running
Yeah.
for his life. I felt bad for Wilson. I was like, this guy can't do it without a line. There's nothing. He's running for his life. That one touchdown pass he had to DK was a beauty, but he was running
He
for
was
his life even
scrambling, yeah.
that. Like, and he
Yeah.
pulled the touchdown out of his butt with it, which kudos to his talent, like because he's just that good of a player.
Yeah.
But they need to get him an offensive line and a running game because they just have none.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have either of those, and you can have a fantastic, like a top 3, top 5 quarterback in the league, but if you don't have a line or a running game to complement that, you got nothing.
Yeah.
So they got work to do.
So you think the Rams have the best defense in the league?
I think they do, yeah.
So I just want to say this now and clip the tape. If the Packers face the Rams next week and lose because Aaron Rodgers had to face an exceptionally good defense and couldn't outdo them, watch out. Because I am coming in here and I'm going to be ready for it.
Wouldn't it be better, though, if
boy.
they faced a mediocre defense and couldn't do it?
Okay,
Wouldn't
so
that be better to base off?
So no. What I mean is, I will be doing extensive research into how good he really was this year versus good defenses.
Okay.
You're telling me that he had an MVP season versus good defenses, or what kind of defenses did he face? So MVP season, and then he goes up against the legitimately best defense, and it's like I'll be ready. And you know what? Maybe it won't be on Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he'll do something crazy. Maybe it'll just be that the team can't get it done. Whatever the case is, I'll be very interested to see how next week goes.
What worries me is I don't know if the Rams will be able to just put up points to compete with the Packers.
Yeah, that's fair. I want the Rams to win, as I said
for them.
As I said, like this, I think this past week in one of our group chats is, at this point, I'm really just rooting against the Ravens and the Packers, but I would like to see the Rams win. And then outside of that, all the other stories in the NFL are just cool. Like, Kansas City moves on. That's cool. The Bills move on. That's cool. Browns move on. That's cool. I just don't want the Ravens to move on. The Rams moving on with Goff with a broken finger. That's kind of cool. And a good defense and like a redemption story after that loss to the Patriots.
Yeah.
That's cool. The Packers moving on. I don't really know if okay, well, Aaron Rodgers is the best. So here you go, and then Saints, Bucks, like they're both really good and they're both at their end. So whichever one of them moves on, like that's cool. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So, yeah, I want to see Brady move on, but I also wouldn't be mad if Breeze did either because I do like Breeze. I think he's a good dude. So yeah, it's like either one's a win.
Make your picks. Let's do the picks.
So I'll go first. Sorry. Because I wrote it out. I picked Chiefs versus Browns. I think that as much as the Browns are a cool team and a cool story, and I guess I picked against them in the Steelers too. And what the heck did I know? Because they won that game, but I don't think they're going to do it 2 weeks in a row. I also said that I didn't think the Browns are going to win 2 weeks in a row versus the Steelers. So really, if you see that I'm picking against the Browns, you should probably pick the Browns. But anyways, I'm picking the Chiefs. I'm going to pick the Bills because I hate the Ravens. Sorry, just to like the Lamar Jackson's a cool story. I really do. Like I think that, but don't really like the Ravens. And I think the Bills are really cool. And I think Josh Allen is legit, like legitimately legit.
Yeah, he is.
I picked the Rams, personal reasons. And so really, actually, if you look at the NFC side of things, I picked the defenses. So Chiefs, Bills, and then on the NFC side, I pick Rams because of their defense, and I pick the Saints because of their defense. Because as good as the Bucks are on offense, I think that the Saints defense could shut them down, and then they don't have a good defense to shut down the Saints offense. So I think when it comes down to that, and it's just check marks on each side of the box or each side of the sides, check mark defense to Saints, which means that their offense has a fighting chance to keep up with the lethal Buccaneers offense. So I'm picking Saints.
Okay. Aaron, you go ahead.
I think these are close games. Except for there's one game that I'm kind of like, all right, I know who's gonna win. I'm picking the Chiefs over the Browns in that. I think the Chiefs are I like the Browns. I think they're a good team, and I do want to say, like at the beginning, our first episode, I said they're going to be a playoff team, and they are going to win a playoff game, and they did that.
Good job, Aaron.
I do think though they will lose to the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are just a much better team. Ravens Bills. After the last week's win, it kind of gives me pause because I'm like, the Ravens are on a really, really hot streak. They're running the ball very, very well. I'm still going to give the edge, though, to the Bills just because Josh Allen has been that good. And I think he can, even in a close game, just between what he can do with his arm and on the ground, I think he gets him the win. So because of how he has played and Stephon Diggs as well, he led the league in receiving yards this year, which is nuts. So I give them the edge there. For the Rams Packers, honestly, this is a gut pick because I love the Rams. I'm gonna pick the Rams. I'm gonna pray that their defense keeps the Packers down, and that Goff can get another week where that thumb can heal up and maybe he can throw the ball a little more, and maybe they can put some sort of offensive game plan together to put some points on. But I do think their defense is that good that it gives them a shot, and I just really want to see them win. And then for Bucks Saints, I'm picking the Bucks. I think their offense is that good. The Saints have a really good defense. I think the Bucks offense is that much better, and I think Tom Brady's locked in from how I've seen him play. Breeze played a good game on Sunday or Saturday or whatever, no, Sunday when they played. But really, it was the ground game that carried him. Like Breeze hasn't been lights out this year. I think he needs to be to beat the Bucks because their offense is that good. So, and I don't think he will be. So I'm picking the Buccaneers.
Okay.
So those are mine.
So, so for the Chiefs and Eric, oh, never mind. So for the Chiefs and the Browns, never mind. The Chiefs and the Browns, I want to be objective about this, but I'm not going to be. I'm picking the Browns for a couple of reasons. One, because if the Browns win, I want to be right. And the second reason is a little bit more legitimate, is because going into their first playoff game since 2002 against the Steelers, they got so much crap. You had people on the Steelers, whoever said it, said, "Oh, the Browns is the Browns," and they've always been losers, so they're going to be losers again. And I think that they ate that up, and they were like, "Oh, this is fuel for the fire." And they ended up pulling it out and just destroying the Steelers. And I thought it was amazing. And for a team like that to have that kind of momentum as underdogs is terrifying if you're the Chiefs. With that kind of momentum should scare the Chiefs and Chiefs fans. So I'm picking the Browns based alone on momentum and how much they want it. The Chiefs, everybody expects the Chiefs to win, right? Nobody expects the Browns to pull this off, right? And I think that they're going to use that as fuel, and I think they know it, and they feel it. So this is the emotional side of Tyler, which is all the time of Tyler. But anyways, the Ravens versus the Bills, same thing. This is Lamar Jackson's first successful playoffs. J.K. Dobbins is a stud of a running back in the playoffs in the last game of the season. Do I think that they have it on pure talent to beat the Bills? No. But that Bills-Colts game was a little too close for me. So I'm picking the Ravens.
Oh, look at you, Tyler.
I really want them to win. I don't know. You guys have this weird hate for the Ravens. I don't think I've ever really not liked them that much. So I'm picking the Ravens. Rams versus Packers. I honestly, it's close. But if there's any, other than Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, if there's any team that I think has a pretty good shot at beating the Rams defense, it's the Packers. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Packers, because Aaron Rodgers is fantastic. And then Bucks Saints, I'm picking the Bucks because I love Tom Brady, and I think Tom Brady wants his 7th ring, and I think he's gonna be successful in that. So those are my picks. Go Browns. I'm all Browns this week.
I like it.
I would love to see the Browns win.
Yeah.
I would. I think they're a cool story. I want to see them do well. It's just Patty Mahomes.
Is it realistic? No, not at all.
Tyler, I think it's interesting that like the past few weeks, you've had a huge,
I know.
huge crush on Josh Allen
You're like,
and
I
the
really
Bills,
like
and
the
now you're
Ravens.
like,
I
yeah,
want
now
to
you're
see
like
them
the
win.
Ravens.
I still want the
Yeah.
Bills to win, but I don't think that it's almost, I feel like in the NFL and in most professional sports, momentum is like a snowball effect. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And getting bigger and bigger. So I want the Bills to win. My dream playoffs is my dream championship game is Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen. That would be amazing. Boing, but I
What was
I'm
that
just
supposed to mean?
it was like a bell going off in my head,
Right.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah.
so that's what I want, but my picks aren't based off of what I want, more or less.
Right. No, that makes sense. This week's tougher for the picks. I'm not gonna lie. Last week it was like, oh, they're gonna win, they're gonna win, they're gonna win. This week's like, they're all good. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not
That's
really sure.
it's a
You know,
very, very interesting divisional round.
yeah,
definitely.
teams, very very quality teams.
We have no frauds. No fraudulent teams.
Eliminated.
No
Steelers.
7-9 teams. So Aaron gets his wish. The teams with the best records are
Shouldn't have been there.
Cream always rises to the top, bro. It's okay.
The Cardinals should have been there over them, but it's all right.
That's okay.
Anywho, we can move on. You want to do NHL talk now?
Sure. Yeah, just for a few minutes, and then obviously we got to hit the NBA because stuff went down, and I'm really excited to hear Aaron's takes on that. But NHL started this week, and I'm pretty excited for it. The Tampa Bay Lightning actually dropped their banner, and it had like a tribute to first responders because of COVID. So I thought that was tasteful of them.
I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really tasteful for them. So COVID-19 has made the divisional realignment kind of different. So, like for example, because I'm a Bruins fan, and the Bruins would typically they would be in the Eastern Conference, and they would have teams like the Montreal Canadiens, which is their huge rival, the Ottawa Senators and the Toronto Maple Leafs in their division. But because of COVID, this year they are in a division with a couple of the teams that are normally in their division typically, but with a couple teams that aren't necessarily have been in their division in the past. And the reason why they did that is obviously because of travel restrictions. So basically, they made Canada its own division. So all the teams in Canada are its own. And actually, I think they have 7 teams, which is one less than the other divisions.
That's smart.
Yeah. So then there's not that whole international because hockey is similar to basketball in that it's like kind of the back-to-back traveling thing. So you could travel conceivably from Toronto to Buffalo and then to Ottawa to Montreal, that sort of thing. And with the COVID restrictions, you'd have to quarantine 14 days each time, which just isn't possible.
Logistically, it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, it wasn't going to fly. So that whole thing starts. So it'd be interesting to see how that works out. And I asked this last week, and so I just wanted to see, kind of just hit on this a little bit more. What's the Bruins' identity this year without Chara? They announced this week that the captain of the team is going to be Bergeron. Which was a fantastic. I mean, everybody knew it was coming, but Tyler, good call on that. And Marchand and Krejci are alternatives. Marchand is going to be a game time decision for tomorrow's season opener, which I believe puts him actually a little bit farther ahead than schedule as far as starting with those sports hernias.
That's amazing. He's a game time, like that's a freaking sports hernia, and he's a game time decision for tomorrow.
It's hockey though.
Especially for the fact that it's hockey, where you're using those muscles to skate.
Your groins use all the time.
Yeah, and then you're slamming into people, which is probably how he got it in the first place. But what do you think their identity is going to look like this year, Tyler? Like, what do you think this team's going to be this year? It's kind of interesting. They still have a lot of their veteran talent, obviously missing their captain, but they also have some young players that they're trying to integrate, and it's almost like it was time to get those young defensemen in there and see how they did. But obviously they might be lacking some talent on defense without Chara, at least as experience, right? I said that last week, like the experience, the knowledge, the know-how. I remember even in the playoffs, there was, before they eventually got bounced, there was just a sequence where as a defenseman, Chara chucked his stick and slammed it down on the ice pretty much at the goal line and stopped the puck from getting in and allowed the Bruins to live for another few days, um, before they eventually got eliminated. But, that experience is not going to be there. But then again, they will have young talent that could actually, skate with some youth. So what do you think?
I don't think they skip a beat. I really don't. They're not gonna miss a single step. They're not gonna miss Chara. I mean, personally, they might. The team is not. Not. I only think that this gives the Bruins defensive line a opportunity to get a lot better because Chara is good. He was one of the better defenders over the past in the whole league in the past decade, and so, but that talent was starting to diminish, and but he held that experience and teaching the younger players, and so I don't think that they're going to miss a beat at all because I mean you still have Charlie McAvoy, Matt Grzelcyk, Brandon Carlo on that defensive line, and this Jeremy Lauzon. I think he's new maybe, but no, I don't think they miss a beat at all. Their identity, I don't think was ever really in Chara because you've had Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand on the team for so long.
Yeah.
I don't think I really don't see this as a setback at all for them. I think I think they might be better without him.
Ooh, that's an interesting take. You really think they're going to be better without him?
Possibly. I mean, what defenseman do you think was or could have been starting this whole time and is now just getting their start? What if somebody comes up and they're like, the next big thing? I don't know.
So my question then is, what about personality? Do you think that might change? Because I mean, I know Chara brought like when you have a guy who has his jaw wired shut and he goes out there, that obviously inspires your team.
Sure.
And other guys are going to be willing to, you know what, like that dude's tough. I'm going to get out there and play with that certain edge and certain toughness. And then, I mean, I know during the end of his career there, he was obviously slowed down because he was older and stuff, and he couldn't skate as well. But he still brought that personality. Do you think that might be affected, like losing a guy like that? Because I don't know about the other guys, the younger guys, if they have that same edge. They might. But...
I mean, I want to say that your identity becomes Brad Marchand and everybody starts licking people, but I mean, yeah, that could be affected. Because regardless of what you think of how he played, he was a staple for that personnel. And everybody looked up to him. Some of the kids, Charlie Coyle, I think, is a Boston local, and like he
is.
He was watching Chara play when he was like in high school playing hockey, like trying to get into the NHL. So I think that kind of dynamic in the team changes, but I don't think it affects the way that they play.
Yeah, I will say too, like obviously Brad Marchand was playing with that sports hernia for a couple of years, and Patrice Bergeron usually by the end a couple times I've heard him play through injuries. So like I do think that's a hockey thing too, like a hockey culture thing, which I love about the sport because you play physical and then you find out after the season that this person the injury they were battling through, by the way, it was like 6 cracked ribs and they still got out there and were playing that
Right.
kind of thing. I think that is just a kind of a hockey culture thing, which I love. Like I love that. Like it's you said earlier that football is probably the most complex game as far as rules go, and I would agree because there's still parts of the game that I don't understand, like the whole you have to be set or else it's like a
yeah, you have to have a certain amount of penalty people on each side of the line of scrimmage, all that stuff.
Yeah, but as I've said before, like hockey is just as intricate, or probably not as much, but just maybe a step down from that. But it is all of that physicality, and a lot of times people get injured and they just keep going. Like, and maybe they don't keep going in the quarter or the period. I'm sorry, in the period, or they don't keep going in the game, or they're out for a couple games. But it's not like broken thumb and I don't start the next game. It's broken thumb. I'm going to put that thing back in and then get back out there.
Right.
Right.
So, and it's just a culture thing, and that's not a dig on golf or anybody who had a broken thumb and didn't play. But that's just like the culture of hockey is injury makes you, you bury that and you keep going unless it's
Right.
something that you literally can't
Right.
play
You
through.
can't stand.
Right.
Cool.
But yeah, nothing really. Yeah, my end thoughts on it is they don't skip a beat. Bruins tomorrow night or Thursday night, so that'd be tonight. Or they're set up pretty good.
I'm excited. I'm excited to watch some hockey.
Very excited. Also, shout out if Kyle Butler ever listens to
I was
this,
just gonna
which he
say.
doesn't. But man, he said his post today. One of his posts on Facebook was like, "Had my Bruins shirt on. I was so ready for tonight. I had
Thought
to."
they were playing.
Yeah, and he goes, "The game's tomorrow night," and I was like, "Oh man!" I commented, "I was like, I'll pour one out for you. That sucks."
Imagine getting home from work. All right, here we go. It's like something else. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah. No. So.
Cool. Well, guys, the NBA.
Let's get into it, man, because this is just, whoa.
Holy crap. Like,
My goodness.
News just broke. I mean, we've all heard of the stuff Harden's been going through this year, the crap he's been putting Houston through. The past couple days has gotten really bad where he wasn't going to play, wasn't going to start showing up. And then we just find out that he got traded, not to the Sixers, as a lot of people thought, but to the freaking Brooklyn Nets. And guess what? Neither Kyrie or KD were involved in that deal, which means all three of them currently, again, Kyrie's a little bit of a wild card, but all three of them are listed on the roster. It was a mega team, a mega deal with 4 teams, obviously Houston and Brooklyn, but also the Pacers and the Cavs. The intricacies are, I mean, literally, I was on a website that was like detailing who went where, and then it was it's pretty messy. What it comes down to is the Nets traded their future away. They gave them like 3 of their 3 first-round picks,
4.
as well as 4 first-round picks, and I think there's other things too, where it's like they could like swap picks, like on the in between
4
years.
of those too.
And then the Nets or the Rockets also got a pick from Milwaukee. I think they walked. It's almost like 8 picks in total. Like if you think about like the swaps and stuff that they got like out of this trade, but the Nets are just like, yeah, screw the future. You can take all of it.
Who did Houston get too? Did they get Embiid or Ben Simmons? What they got? They got an actual talent too.
They didn't trade with the Sixers. They got Oladipo.
Oh, okay.
Rockets have Victor Oladipo now. Yeah.
Right. So they got Oladipo, who's like that was like their biggest acquisition on top of like all of these first round picks. So and then like the Nets gave up Levert, who Levert's actually a pretty decent player. He just had 40 points a couple nights ago. So that happened. Now, out of all this though, Kyrie is still currently AWOL.
Nowhere to be
found. As most of you guys, or if you don't know, due to the riots and stuff that happened last week, he's decided to sit out for an unknown period of time. He literally like just ghosted his coach, Nash.
Did you hear the other things about that too, Aaron? So apparently he was upset that that the Nets picked Steve Nash as their coach and they did not ask him
about his. Ask him.
Yeah,
because it was always said that they must have talked with Kyrie and KD and like they gave the okay. So that's crazy.
And that apparently his relationship with KD has been very distant. That was reported today too.
Kyrie is such a dunce. Oh my goodness.
That's a good word for him.
And I watched a video today of legitimately Kyrie Irving at a club. I don't know what kind of club, but
not wearing a mask and all that
dancing,
stuff. Yeah.
which is a direct violation of NBA protocol. Like they specifically told the players don't do that.
Well, they've dinged a couple players already this year.
Yeah.
For that kind of stuff. So he'll get fined. He'll get some sort of repercussions. But so he's missing. Like, and they don't know when he's come back. I think potentially it could be he sits out all year. Stephen A. Smith came out today and was like, "Dude just needs to retire."
How is this not a breach of contract though? Like, I don't understand this.
Because it's not an injury. He's just not playing.
He just doesn't want to play. Like,
I would be docking his.
How is this not a breach of contract? I don't understand that.
Unfortunately, I think this is a case where NBA players. We talked about how they can have a lot of power.
If too much,
and they know he's a star player, and they're like, we don't want to piss him off too much, and maybe they're holding out hope. But when this deal first happened, my thought was they must be really worried that Kyrie's not coming back. And that's why they wanted to pull the trigger to get James Harden. Because otherwise, I mean,
It makes sense, yeah.
they had to evacuate like pretty much their entire bench.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have a bench anymore. They got no first round draft picks for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they know something about Kyrie that the public doesn't yet. And they're like, well, we need to at least win now or something, because right now, like, we don't have Kyrie. We got to figure something out. So I don't know what's gonna happen with the Nets this year. I don't.
I mean, do we think that Kevin Durant and James Harden are or at least do we think that James Harden is an upgrade from Kyrie? Because that Durant and Kyrie Irving dynamic on the court looked, seamless.
Because Kyrie he's the guy, if he plays with a number one, KD's the number one on that team.
Sure.
Like Kyrie's a phenomenal talent. KD's the number one. And it freed up Kyrie to be the 1B or 2 person.
Mm-hmm.
And so he could just do his thing and let KD carry the load. And it really worked to Kyrie playing good ball. He seemed to play with freedom. He was enjoying the game. Now, James Harden he's a number one guy.
Mm-hmm.
He needs the ball in his hands. Well, KD is the number one guy. He needs the ball in his hands. So I don't know how that's gonna work out.
They're just gonna take turns. All right, KD, you get this first half. I'll get the second.
That's I don't know. And Kyrie's a much better facilitator. I know Harden gets a lot of assists and stuff, but Kyrie's more of a pure point guard than that James Harden is. So I don't know. I know I said earlier in this podcast when the season started that the Nets, if Kyrie and KD played well and Kyrie didn't pull a freaking Kyrie, which this is a lot earlier than I thought it would happen. I didn't think it would be this season. That was like, I think they could be the number one seed. Then Kyrie pulled and I am so enraged at him right now because he is such a good talent and he is just so full of himself and so selfish that it's like, dude, you're ruining teams that you're going to right now. He did this on the Celtics, and it's like he did this when he was leaving the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just so focused on himself, and it's pissing me off because we're wasting a talent in the league that could be playing and entertaining us, but instead is just ruining franchises and and screwing owners over and GMs for picking them up. So I'm just pissed at him in general. Like, it's getting me really irritated, but I don't know. I don't know how KD and James are gonna mesh this year.
I think you'll
with no bench.
Honestly, I think you'll know from the first game that they play together if it doesn't work out. We'll know if it's fixable or not. Because the way that those two play, it doesn't seem like or the way that they are personally, doesn't seem like they're willing to give the other any slack or give up some of the stardom or the points and the numbers for the other one. So I think the first game they play, you're going to be able to tell if it works, if it doesn't work, and if it's fixable.
Well, I'll give them a couple games just because, Harden's literally just going to join. And so, they'll need a couple games together just to kind of figure it out.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, I think there's a possibility they might not ever get to a point of figuring it out. And that's what I'm saying.
If you're Steve Nash and you have to scheme something up late in the game to give the ball to one of the two of them to win the game, who are you giving it to?
KD.
And why is that?
I think he's the better shooter.
Yeah.
And because of his length and his height. Yeah, in my opinion, KD is the best purest scorer in the league. Like, as far as there's offense, he's the best offensive talent.
He's this thin. His arms are the size of the Empire State Building, or long wise, and he can drive to the net. Like, he does that Euro step, and he's got the ball up top.
KD has that,
and nobody can touch it because, it's just insane. The guy he's got instinct. He's
got that killer instinct where he takes, and he's done it in the past. Like he did it with the Warriors. He's done it with the Thunder. Because Harden and KD were on the team before in OKC when they were first in the league, and that was KD's team. Granted, Harden started as the sixth man. He didn't get the starting gig until he got traded to the Rockets. But I don't know. In my opinion, KD has to be the guy on the Nets, and I don't know if Harden's going to be okay with that.
Yeah, agreed.
So then on the flip side, though, so the Rockets, they got rid of Harden, but they have several first-round picks now, and do we think that the Rockets can rebuild? Or I know in our group chat, Brent said, and he's right, in this league, it's not necessarily first-round picks that get you wins. It's a superstar that you need to get. And now, granted, they could draft that. You never know. Like, there could be a stud in the draft who turns into that.
Oh, yeah.
Or do you convert? You have like 8 of them or whatever. Do you convert those into a trade to get a superstar, to find someone else who would fit in? It's like, so they have some options on the table which if they waste this and don't rebuild, they're idiots, and the whole front office should be fired because they have an embarrassment of riches right now. They can throw this season out. The season's going to be garbage. But they got to start. What do you think they should do? Do you think they should use all those picks to draft wisely, or do you think you shop some of those around to get that superstar player? Which wouldn't happen this year. It's not going to happen this year.
It's 4.
Right.
I think you have 2 picks. I think you have 2 picks to play with. 2 first-round picks is going to go quite a ways in the NBA.
Right, and throw in some cash.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. Right.
So if you split it up half and half, get somebody who's a potential superstar, who's young in their career, and then go for 2 draft picks. I think that would be smart.
Yeah, the NBA draft just scares me because it's not like there's so many busts.
Yeah.
The NBA draft, it's like if you're not picking in the first like 5 players, you're not getting anyone.
Yeah.
Unless you get really, really lucky and you get like a Kawhi Leonard or something like it, which is possible.
I forgot about him.
Yeah, he wasn't like a top pick, but he turned into obviously he's one of the best players in the league.
He's really good.
So I would have to have better knowledge of the draft class this year to really make a good assessment about that. But just from a 1,000 feet up view, if you're a fan of Houston teams going into this evening before this news broke, I would be absolutely infuriated at your teams. Not too long ago, the Astros won the World Series, and if you lived in Houston during the time, it was right after Harvey, and I can't tell you how many pictures I saw of people with gutted houses with TVs on like 5-gallon buckets just watching their Astros win. It was like the only thing that got them through that a horrible time in their lives where like they lost a bunch of money. It was horrible. Like there were so many people I knew, and then it came out that they cheated and they fired their manager, and just it's been a debacle since. They said, okay, well, at least Houston's got Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is gone, and Bill O'Brien's screwed everything, and then he gets fired.
He gets hurt all the time and hasn't been productive in 3 years.
And then Deshaun Watson's wanting to hold out because, and you know what? I'm sorry, I don't mean to go back to football for a minute, but just let me get this off my chest.
Bring up the Deshaun Watson thing.
The whole Deshaun Watson thing, where Deshaun is trying to get himself out of there. Like I understand. Like, okay, fine. You want to get out of there because they've poorly managed your team. Fine, yeah, I get that. He said there was something that was reported that he was complaining about. They didn't consult him about the general manager. No. You don't get to do that. Not in that league. It's just,
I think that's ridiculous. That's too much player power.
I agree. But so you would be frustrated about that, but there's kind of that cool, like maybe they'll trade him for Tua thing going on. And then, you've had this ongoing issue with the Rockets and James Harden, and what are they going to do? And you two are crazy right now. I'm kidding.
Sorry.
Just see, if you see there's messages coming across of some stupid meme that Aaron sent us, and now we're all like trying to watch it, but also talking about it.
It's a good meme though.
And Tyler's like, bro, stop, not during the podcast. And of course, I'm trying to like give a take about Houston, and there's all these messages and
No,
no,
just keep going. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Anyways, but if you were Houston fans, I would be relieved because now at least Houston's got options, right? As
Right.
a basketball team,
Right.
I mean, your baseball team is, I don't even know, your football team is trash at the moment, in absolute shambles, both on and off the field. And your basketball team, you thought you had something, and then you didn't, and now you kind of do again. So whatever the front office decides to do, at least they've done something right. They got rid of a talent that doesn't want to be there, and they picked up some options at the very least.
They did what they wanted. They said, hey, if you want to go, it's a big asking price.
Right.
And at least they pulled through on that. So I give respect to the front office for that.
No, I
really do like these NBA trades though, with 4 teams and all these moving parts.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like so Mookie Betts signed with the Dodgers, which was huge news by the way that he signed with the Dodgers. But this is like 4 teams, and you have to break down what happened, and there's so many different.
You get a couple of those per year, where it's like just several teams get together and like, we'll make it work.
Yeah.
We'll figure out a way to do this.
So I think overall, the real winners in this trade are the Rockets. And I'll tell you why. And this is our next talking point here is the Nets just gave away their future for a player who's going to add a little bit to the team and make them a contender for the playoffs, obviously. But is all that just to get beat by the Lakers?
Right. That's the whole thing. I was like, cool. So LeBron's still gonna win, right?
Exactly. Aaron said it in our group chat earlier. It's like they did all this just for the Lakers to still be on top, and I think that's the quote of the day. Is you're trying you're trying to replicate what the Golden State Warriors did, and the Golden State Warriors still lost one of those championships to LeBron James. And the constant
and the Golden State too, they had a super team where KD was the guy, but you also had a Steph and Clay who were willing to share.
Sure, yeah,
and play off the ball. So
and
that's why it worked.
And that's where they had success with that.
Right.
But the Nets are trying to replicate that. It looks like, and I think it's going to go up in smoke. Because first of all,
I think it already is.
Yeah, it's already up in smoke because of Kyrie. But
yeah,
even if they get on the court together, it's going to be a circus. I mean, it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him arguing with each other on the sideline or on the side of the court, 5 minutes into the third game they play together. So I think
a really watchable product for the worst possible reason.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So I think
Who
that
wants to see a dumpster fire. Let's turn this on.
I do.
So I think that the real winners here are definitely the Rockets. Because they have a chance to rebuild and actually become a team that is contenders for winning a championship, because by the time that they're built up enough, LeBron will not be in the league. So,
yeah,
because he's
winning it this year.
He's limited on his time. So, yeah, honestly, can anybody dethrone the Lakers? Can it happen?
The best record in the league right now, and you look at their box scores, like I messaged you guys, and you look at the scoring, and they're deep. They have the best bench in the league. They can have a second unit go on there and be just as dangerous. And it's scary now watching LeBron play, because he doesn't put up the gaudy numbers like when he was younger, but he's at the point now in his career where he just knows how to win games. Like he can see the game and like, all right, so this is what we have to. It's almost like when Tom Brady said, "Why would I retire if I know the answers to the test?" It's like LeBron's figured that out in basketball, where he can just look. Okay, so this is, I just need to make the pass here to here, and then and then he just knows what to do to win. So he doesn't need to put up 40 a night.
The game truly slows down for him.
And he's at that point where he is by far the best in the league at that. Where you have James Harden, who could score at will and great offensive talent. He doesn't have what LeBron has, where LeBron knows exactly the plays to make to win the game, and that's why they will win the championship.
Yeah,
it's because honestly, it's still because Bron. He may not be putting up the best stats as the top guys, but he is still the best basketball player because he knows how to win and he knows the game better than any other player. He's the Tom Brady of it right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So all that said, and everything that happened with the Nets, the Lakers are still on top, and they're going to win.
Yep.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, no, I like seeing success.
I'd root for the Lakers if the Celtics weren't in it.
Oh, Celtics are number 1 seed so far in the East, but I still don't think they're competing with LA. So
Nope.
I don't know. That would be a hard one for me. A New York team or an LA team winning it all.
I think it would be cool to have an old classic Celtics Lakers championship or finals.
Oh, that would be cool.
beautiful.
That's classic, baby. Ooh, that's vintage. Vintage. I love it. Oh yeah.
Fix that. Hear that, Silver? Get the Celtics in there.
Yeah.
Do it.
All right.
Well,
so.
On that note,
Yeah, we're just like encouraging collusion. It's like our fantasy team.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, stop, dude.
Anyways, no, I'll bring us out of here.
Okay.
All right, guys. Please be sure to follow us on Spotify, follow us on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube. And I'm going to give you guys a challenge. Share our podcast with 2 other friends or family members that you have. If they like sports, get us out there, because you know what? When you help us get listeners, that helps us make a better product so that you're entertained even more. So help us out so that we can help you out. So give us a follow on those platforms. You can go on our social media as well at Under.500 Podcast for Instagram, and on Facebook, where we post stuff throughout the week on what's going on in the sports world. And feel free to give us direct messages through those apps or at our email at Under500podcast@gmail.com. Of any takes that you have, like Mike Doobie did this week, that you would like to hear us discuss. We love that feedback, and we'd love to talk about what you guys want to hear. So please do that for us and help us to grow this thing. Yeah. And on that note, guys, we are done with episode 10.
10 in the books, baby.
10 in the books.
For everybody that's listened to every one of those 10 episodes, we do
big
thank
shout
you.
out. Yeah,
we do thank you for putting up with our putting up with us.
Mistakes.
Yep, thank you for putting up with us.
Yeah.
Especially me and my innate ability not to pronounce any name that isn't simple.
Doncic.
Bogdan Grigorivich.
Doncic actually annoys me because I know it was the Doncic.
All right.
Well, on that note, see you, everybody. We'll
Have
see
a
you
good
next
week.
week.
See ya.